6:30 here on Up with KREM as the vaccine rollout continues. We're taking a look at the latest numbers out of Washington and Idaho.
And coming up on Connecting the Dots, we see just how far we still have to go to bridge the pay gap between men and women.
And we're going to take you outside as the sun comes up on the inland northwest. We're dry and cloudy now, but showers return later today.
Up with KREM begins now.
Oh, good morning. Welcome to Up with KREM. Check this out. Riverfront Park Pavilion is lit up in orange this morning on behalf of the Arc of Spokane in celebration of National Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. Now, while we're looking outside, Jeremy, it is, just about as dark as it is in that picture, but it's been kind of a topsy-turvy week so far, and we're only 3 days in. What else can we expect today?
I told our executive producer, I said, I call this March Madness, and today it's going to deliver. It's going to be all sorts of madness, and it all starts early on this morning with a little bit of cloud cover overhead, and that cloud cover kind of sets the stage for what we see today. As those clouds hang out, temperatures are quite mild. We are in the mid-30s here in Spokane. That's above freezing. We're at 34 degrees, 35 if you go into Coeur d'Alene, and 36 in Sandpoint. And you're even in the 40s in central Washington thanks to some downsloping out of the Cascades. But we do have thick clouds overhead, and those clouds really take over and bring us our next round of moisture. We also have some wind. It is going to be breezy out of the south and southwest today. And notice those wind gusts up near 25 miles per hour. Well, that's going to play a role in what we see as our moisture arrives. Our first little shot kind of falls apart, but the moisture itself is going to work its way in. And I think later on today we'll wind up seeing some more widespread showers through the middle part of the day. Likely starts as some snow that's melting as it falls. It's basically going to be, is that rain or snow? That kind of question. Eventually it turns into rain, and then some scattered showers later on could potentially bring about some graupel. Not everybody sees it, but it's a potential for some of us later on today. So as we go through the day, really those clouds play a big role in what we see. It keeps us mild this morning, but they keep us from warming up. We're staying in the mid-40s for our high temperatures.
Jeremy, thank you. Well, there are a lot of COVID-19 vaccine headlines this morning, so let's break down the top 3 things you should know today. Number 1, more COVID-19 vaccines are coming to Washington. The Department of Health is expecting nearly 409,000 doses next week. That's about 100,000 more than we got this week. The increase in supply will come at a good time. Next Wednesday, an additional 2 million people in Washington will be eligible for the shot, and that includes anyone older than 60, anyone who has 2 or more medical conditions, and people working in congregate settings like restaurants and food service workers. Number 2, more than 380,000 Idahoans have received at least 1 dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Only 17% of Idahoans have been fully vaccinated. 10% of Idahoans have received their first dose, but 73% of the state remains unvaccinated. By May, all adult Idahoans will be eligible to receive the vaccine, which health experts say is needed to achieve herd immunity. And finally, number 3, new data out today shows the speed and efficacy of the Pfizer coronavirus shot. A joint study conducted in part by the Israel Institute of Technology showed 2 weeks after the second dose, the Pfizer and BioNTech vaccine was more than 91% effective at preventing infection and 99% effective in preventing symptomatic COVID-19.
Coming up on 6:35 now, as today lawmakers will put the pay gap between men and women under the microscope. And Seattle soccer star Megan Rapinoe will join them. She will serve as a witness at a hearing on equal pay, inequalities that women of color face, and several other pieces of feminist legislation. Rapinoe, along with some of her U.S. women's national teammates, are also expected to meet with President Biden today to talk about these issues. And that pay gap is an issue that across the country we have continued to see more discussion, but little seems to change. Let's connect the dots this morning on how the divide appears to be getting even wider.
Equal Pay Day represents how far into a new year a woman must work to be paid the same as a man for the year before. But despite calls to improve the pay gap, the situation is actually getting worse. Let's connect the dots. On average, women make 82 cents for every dollar a man makes, which is why they would have to work into late March to make the same as a man does in a year. But now check out the demographics. For Black women, Equal Pay Day falls on August 3rd. For Latinas, it's October 21st. At the rate we're going, we won't reach equal pay for men and women until the year 2106. And you can blame the pandemic in part. A record number of women, at least 2.1 million, were forced out of their jobs when coronavirus hit. By January of 2021, nearly 80% of working adults who'd left their jobs were women. That's according to the National Women's Law Center. Often, women were forced to leave so they could take care of kids no longer going to school. And it's not just women paying the price. It meant families had less money coming in. It also hurts local and state economies that depend on those dollars coming in. Or should we say, those 82 cents.
Well, let's take a look at our speed feed stories we'll see on social media today. Kicking it off, a story about Prince Harry, who has called U.S. home for the past year and now has a brand new job. He is now the Chief Impact Officer for Better Up. The San Francisco-based health tech company offers professional and mental health coaching to individuals, businesses, and organizations. Harry says he's a client himself, calling the experience invaluable in a blog post. And check this out. Scientists at the foot of a volcano in Iceland used its lava as a giant grill to cook up a sausage snack as they studied the eruption over the weekend. And soon you'll be able to read all about Dr. Anthony Fauci in the form of a children's book. It's called Dr. Fauci, How a Boy from Brooklyn Became America's Doctor. The author, Kate Messner, says it's for curious kids who always have questions, just like Dr. Fauci did when he was a child. The book comes out June 29th.
Yeah.
Jeremy's like, I'm adding that to my reading list.
Yeah, for sure. That's about my length book. It comes with,
And it comes with pictures.
Yeah.
No, but for real, I think having a children's book that emphasizes someone who uses their brain is amazing.
Yeah. Especially starting
Also,
with.
I'm sure.
Go ahead, Anna Marie.
No, go ahead, Joshua.
I was going to say being able to place someone in a city like Brooklyn, the way that they kind of were raised, and people could identify with, I was being raised like this. I can become someone like Dr. Fauci. I love that kind of idea.
Yeah, and he's been influential for a very long time. When George W. Bush took his office as president, he was asked who he looks up to, who his inspiration is, and it was Dr. Fauci way back then. So that's kind of cool.
That is pretty cool.
And I can't even imagine how many little kids were sitting, in the living room watching Dr. Anthony Fauci for that whole year, wondering, who is this guy? They know his face, so now being able to put it to a children's book and understand the history behind it, I think is so important. So what a fun way. Hopefully we'll be on our way out by June.
Yeah.
It'll be more of a celebration.
Yeah. We'll get to look at this in the rear view.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, coming up this morning, the Great Dine Out is almost over. We got a few days left to highlight plenty of places for you. After the break, if you're not looking at your screen, Jeremy's groaning. He's hungry already. We're talking about comfort food you can order for maybe to watch March Madness this weekend.
Yeah, I want those biscuits. I got to figure out where those are from. But in the interim, let's talk clouds. Clouds and mild temperatures this morning, but don't let it fool you. We stay cool and have rain and snow on the way today.